Yesterday we did archaeological sources and we found out how the things are excavated by the archaeologists. Now I read further because the voice was not clear during the class. Now the first example is the sites. Now sites are the places where material remains are found in ample. Now wherever earlier civilizations were found, people lived there. So after they vanished, the remains of their things were found there. Sites are places where material remains of the past are found. Buried towns, cities, skeletal remains, toys are found by careful excavations by archaeologists, geologists, and historians. So it is that place, site is a place where civilization once lived. People in groups lived, and the things they used got buried in the soil, and later on the historians, geologists, etc., they excavated the place and they found the remains like pottery, tools, buildings, paintings, bones, etc., were found, and according to that the analysis of the people was done in the earlier times. Next is monuments. Any building or historical importance is called a monument. Temples, tombs, caves, forts are important examples. Now, the people lived at a place, and those places, maybe the old monuments, the kings, like in Lucknow we have Bada Imam Bada as an example. So now these monuments tell in great detail about the kings, their lifestyles, and various other informations which are used by the historians for the making up of history material. Now the third is coins. The study of coins is called numismatics. Coins were made of copper, bronze, silver, and gold. Now, in the earlier times, the coins were made of copper, bronze, silver, and gold. And the study of coins is called numismatics. Now, you take a coin. If you take a 1 rupee coin or a 5 rupee coin, which we have as our currency, you will see various details on it. Government of India will be written there, year of its manufacture will be written there, and through those coins you will come to know when that coin was made, what material was used, which country it represents. In the same way, in the olden days also, coins were a great help to recollect the lifestyle of the people at that time, the kings, which coin they made, of which metal. So all these details were made. Now next is inscriptions. Epigraphy is the study of inscriptions. Inscriptions are written on hard surfaces like copper plates, rocks, and stone pillars. Inscriptions also uh, Inscriptions also contain scripts and languages of old times. They can be understood by modern people only by decipherment. The Harappan scripts are undeciphered till now. Now, inscriptions are the written materials which are written on hard surfaces. Now, the written material on soft surface like paper will not be called as inscription, but a thing written on a maybe a bark of maybe on a stone, or carved on a stone or a rock or a copper plate or a pillar or a cave inscription, all these are inscriptions, and the study of it is the term epigraphy. Now, the Harappan civilization, which was the oldest civilization, had a script, the language, the way they wrote. Now, that art of writing, which is called epigraphy, is till date not being deciphered. That means people still don't know what exactly they wrote. Their language is still in the process of decipherment. People are still working, historians are working to discover what they wrote and what it meant. Now, coming to literary sources, one way of finding out about the past is to search for books or what was written years ago. These are in the form of manuscripts or handwritten texts. Manu is a Latin word meaning hand. The manuscripts were written on a palm leaf, a specially prepared bark of a tree, that is birch, and parchments. Now, literary sources are the written records, since paper was not discovered at that time, so they were written on softer materials, and the material used at that time, other than the inscriptions, The softer material which was used, which is known as a source of literature, are palm leaves. That means they were written on palm leaves, the messages and the inscriptions. Then bark of birch trees and parchments. Then many manuscripts have been destroyed, but those that have survived were generally preserved in temples and monasteries. These manuscripts fall under two categories, the religious and secular. So now all these written records, they can be clubbed in two headings, religious and secular. Now religious are the things which were written in the name of religion. Whichever religion one followed, the people wrote about it and kept it as a record. Now those readings which are found now, they are clubbed as religious texts. Then the other is secular. Secular means it does not involve the religion concept. It could be a play written in the olden times, it could be a drama written in the olden times, or general administration formats of the kings. All these are called secular. Now, first jotter, the religious manuscripts describe religious beliefs and rituals. Example, the Vedas, the epics. The manuscripts were written in different languages, and the prevalent among that time were the languages Sanskrit, Prakrit, Tamil, etc. These were the common languages spoken by the common men at that time. Now, stories of the rule of kings are found in Megasthenes Indica and Arthashastra of Kautilya. Now, how a particular king ruled was also recorded, and this is called secular work. So, these secular texts are also found, in which they very clearly give you two prominent names here. One is Megasthenes, he wrote Indica, and the other is Arthashastra, written by Kautilya. Now, the third jotter, the secular books deal with kings, their administration, and science. Many plays, poems, and epics were also written. Example, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Now, many plays and epics were also written at that time, and those are also clubbed as secular work. And many secular works telling about the kings, the life, the administration, the work they undertook, all that came under secular literature. Now, with this, we end the chapter called Where, When, What, Where, How, and When.